How did ancient civilizations build structures that defy gravity and stand the test of time, all without a single computer or crane? Imagine moving stones weighing hundreds of tons with nothing but manpower and ingenuity. This video will uncover the mind-blowing secrets behind ancient engineering marvels, revealing the incredible techniques that still baffle modern scientists.
Hey there, knowledge seekers. This is your ultimate destination for discovering the past, understanding the present, and imagining the future. Every video here is a window into a world of wonder, so let your curiosity guide you. Now we explore, explain ancient engineering, masterpieces that still awe.
The desert wind swept over the endless horizon of sandstone as if it carried the breath of thousands of forgotten years. A young archaeologist named Elias Morgan tightened the cloth around his face while the hot grains of sand stung against his skin. He had traveled from London to Cairo in pursuit of something that hovered at the edge of legend and scholarship, an answer to a question that had haunted him since childhood. How did ancient civilizations accomplish engineering feats that still defy modern logic? This was not a survey, not a research paper, not a mere academic exercise. This was a journey into the mind of humanity itself. And it began now, in a world where ancient dust whispered stories even the wind had not finished telling. Elias had spent years tracing patterns of ancient stonework, aligning the measurements of temples and pyramids with tools that had no right to be so precise. Now, walking across the timeless Egyptian sands, he felt the sensation he always felt when he approached a mystery greater than himself, a tightening of breath, a slowing of thought, an instinctive awareness that he was standing at the threshold of something extraordinary. His destination lay only a few kilometers ahead, the Great Pyramid of Giza, the oldest, grandest, and most enigmatic engineering masterpiece that still towered above humanity's understanding. As he walked, he revisited memories that did not belong to textbooks, but to the early seeds of curiosity planted in childhood. His grandfather, a historian of ancient civilizations, used to tell him stories of stone blocks heavier than passenger jets being lifted without machines, of cities aligned with the stars, of canals stretching thousands of miles long, dug with primitive tools. Civilizations rise and fall, his grandfather had said, but knowledge, true knowledge, outlives them all. Those words had clung to Elias's soul like a compass pointing toward forgotten worlds. And now, with satchels full of notes, scanners, journals, and the weight of his life's ambition, he was finally ready to grasp the truth behind ancient engineering. A jeep hummed behind him, leaving a trail of swirling dust. "Dr. Morgan, sir, you're walking again. You could have waited for us." It was Farid, one of the local assistants assigned to him by the Egyptian Ministry of Antiquities. Elias smiled underneath the swath of cloth on his face. He appreciated Farid's enthusiasm, but preferred to approach monuments the same way their original builders once had, on foot, slowly, reverently, as if walking toward a sacred threshold. When the Great Pyramid of Giza came into view, rising like a colossal mountain, forged not by nature but by determination, Elias halted instinctively. Even though he had visited it several times before, its presence always struck him like the first time. No structure on Earth demanded silence the way this one did. The massive limestone blocks caught the sun in a way that made them glow like gold, each stone a testament to the ambitions of a people who had believed that humanity could touch eternity.
Elias approached the base, marveling at the symmetry that even modern machinery struggled to reproduce. How had ancient builders transported millions of stone blocks, some weighing up to 80 tons, from distant quarries? How had they achieved precise orientation to the cardinal directions, with a margin of error so small it challenged contemporary surveying tools? These were not random achievements. They were deliberate, mathematically driven engineering decisions made by brilliant minds lost to time.
Dr. Morgan, Farid said softly, you always look at it like you're seeing it for the first time. Because, Elias replied, his eyes still fixed on the monumental geometry before him, because humanity has forgotten how to be astonished. But this forces us to remember. He knelt beside one of the limestone blocks, placing his gloved hand on it. It felt warm from the desert sun, but solid, immovable, eternal. He imagined the hands of the workers, the sweat, the chance, the engineering intuition, without formal mathematics, but with an innate understanding of balance, weight, angle, and purpose. Ancient engineering was not merely technical achievement, it was a reflection of human will. Inside the Grand Gallery, Elias's flashlight carved a tunnel of light against walls that seemed to echo with invisible footsteps. As he ascended, he found himself contemplating the structure as if it were a living organism, a labyrinth of chambers, shafts, and architectural decisions that hinted at a highly advanced understanding of engineering principles. The seemingly simple stone corridors concealed complex stress relief systems, weight distribution strategies, and internal designs that had allowed the pyramid to survive earthquakes, erosion, invasions, and time itself. Dust particles floated like tiny stars in the beam of his flashlight. The silence around him felt strange, ancient, almost sentient. He stopped before the entrance to the king's chamber, the air thick with a sense of reverence. There, inside a chamber made from massive granite blocks transported from hundreds of kilometers away, Elias felt as though the past was breathing around him. But today was not about awe. Today was about discovery. He took out his portable 3D scanner, connected it to the tablet strapped to his forearm, and aimed it at the granite walls. The scanner hummed softly as the scanner swept across the surface. Lines of data streamed across the tablet screen. Measurements, temperature readings, density maps, structural anomalies. Farid watched curiously, though he had seen Elias perform this ritual before. What exactly do you hope to find? I think I will find something that shouldn't be possible, but somehow is. And indeed, the scanner revealed what Elias had suspected but never proven. Internal stress lines running through the granite blocks in patterns too perfectly aligned to be accidental. These stress lines indicated that the builders had calculated the load-bearing properties of the granite with extraordinary accuracy, something modern engineers used computer modeling to achieve. He exhaled sharply. They knew. They understood the forces acting on this chamber. They designed around them.
But how could they? Farid asked. That, Elias said, is the question that brought me here. After spending hours documenting measurements, sketching internal layouts, and comparing the new scans with previous data, Elias stepped outside once again into the blazing sun. He closed his eyes, letting the heat wash over him, and a thought formed in his mind, a realization that had been building for years. Ancient engineering was not the work of primitive minds experimenting blindly. These monuments were deliberate masterpieces constructed by civilizations whose understanding of mathematics, astronomy, and physics ran deeper than history books admitted.
and if such knowledge existed once, it must be discoverable still. That night, back in Cairo, Elias reviewed his findings in a small room lit by the dim yellow glow of a table lamp. The hotel around him was noisy, tourists laughing, televisions humming, car horns blaring. But his mind drifted far from modern chaos. His thoughts lingered on tunnels beneath the pyramids, forgotten chambers, ancient papyri hinting at knowledge that once bound the natural world to human imagination. But the Great Pyramid was only one chapter of a story that spanned continents and millennia. His next destination lay far across the Mediterranean Sea, where the stones whispered different truths. The truths of Greek engineering, where minds like Archimedes and engineers of antiquity reshaped human understanding of mechanics. His journey would then take him into the heart of Rome, where engineering had been refined into a form of imperial power. Roads so straight they defied geography, aqueducts that carried water with impossible precision, concrete that modern science struggled to replicate. From Rome, he would travel east into the Indus Valley, where ancient urban planning surpassed that of many modern cities, with drainage systems so advanced they still inspire engineers today. Beyond that, into China, where hydraulic systems, suspension bridges, and astronomical engineering reshaped civilization itself. This was more than travel, more than research. This was an unfolding story of human ingenuity, one told not in words, but in stone, metal, clay, and earth. He opened his journal, its pages filled with sketches, formulas copied from ancient scrolls, notes from archaeological sites, and personal reflections. He wrote, "We have underestimated them. Their tools were not primitive. Their minds were not simple. Their ambitions were not small. They engineered not just structures, but legacies." As he wrote, he remembered what a mentor once told him. Ancient engineering is not about how they built things, it is about how they thought. Those thoughts became a doorway in Elias's mind, leading him deeper into speculation. Perhaps ancient civilizations had possessed forms of knowledge that had been lost through wars, natural disasters, and the collapse of empires. Knowledge that was not magical, but practical. Techniques, measurements, observational skills, and mathematical reasoning that could disappear if not continuously passed on from generation to generation. Entire systems of education could vanish if civilizations fell too quickly.
As midnight settled over Cairo, Elias packed his belongings. Tomorrow he would leave for Greece. But before closing his suitcase, he tucked inside it a stone he had collected from the base of the pyramid. Not because he believed it sacred or mystical, but because it reminded him of something essential, the weight of history. The next morning, as the plane rose above the Egyptian desert, Elias gazed at the pyramids from the window, their triangular silhouettes forming ancient shadows across the sand. He whispered to himself, "This is only the beginning." After landing in Athens, he felt the atmosphere shift. Cooler winds, the scent of the sea, the sound of ancient footsteps echoing through the narrow streets lined with marble ruins. Athens was a city where the past did not hide. It lived openly in the stones of the Acropolis, the columns of the Parthenon, and the theater of Dionysus. Elias walked along the pathways just as philosophers, mathematicians, and engineers once had, feeling the echo of minds who had shaped the foundations of Western science. The Parthenon loomed above him, a masterpiece of balance, symmetry, and structural illusion. Elias's pulse quickened as he observed how the columns subtly curved inward,
an intentional correction for optical illusion, ensuring the structure appeared perfectly straight to the human eye. These adjustments reflected an understanding of perception intertwined with engineering, something rarely seen even today. He climbed the marble steps, worn smooth by centuries of footsteps, and felt once again that quiet reverence. His mind raced as he analyzed the ancient techniques, the precise jointing of marble blocks without mortar, the interlocking plamps made of iron and lead, the use of mathematical proportions rooted in what the Greeks considered divine harmony. Every inch of the Parthenon reflected an obsession with precision. And then there was Archimedes. Elias visited the small engineering museum dedicated to the legendary inventor, mathematician, and engineer whose brilliance transcended eras. He stared at reconstructions of the Archimedes screw, the compound pulley system, the heat ray mirror, and the war machines that once protected Syracuse from invasion. Archimedes had understood mechanical advantage long before formal physics existed. His writings, though fragmented, hinted at a profound grasp of mathematics embedded in practical engineering solutions. Elias felt as though he were piecing together a mosaic, each civilization contributing a different tile, a different piece of knowledge. Egypt mastered massive stone engineering. Greece mastered mathematical engineering. Rome mastered civil engineering. The Indus Valley mastered urban engineering. China mastered hydraulic and mechanical engineering. Humanity's genius had not been linear. It had been scattered across continents, like stars forming constellations only when viewed from the right perspective. As he prepared to leave Greece, he felt a growing sense of clarity. Ancient engineering was not the story of isolated achievements. It was the story of human capability at its peak, a story that connected civilizations across vast distances and times. Whoever understood this story could understand something deeper about humanity's past and perhaps its future. With the Aegean Sea shimmering beneath the setting sun, Elias boarded a ferry headed toward Italy. He stood on the deck, wind stirring his hair, and watched as gulls soared above the waves. Ahead lay Rome, the greatest engineer of civilization itself, a place where stones, arches, domes, and aqueducts told a story of ambition unmatched in history. He whispered into the wind, "Rome will give me answers." But deep inside, he sensed something more, something calling him beyond Rome, beyond Greece, beyond Egypt, something waiting in the ruins of forgotten cities buried under earth and time.
The ferry cut through the gentle waves of the Aegean Sea as dusk settled across the horizon, turning the surface of the water into a mosaic of gold and violet. Elias Morgan stood at the railing, watching the faint silhouettes of islands drift past like memories carried by the wind. The salty breeze on his face reminded him that he was journeying from the philosophies of Greece to the practicality and ambition of Rome, an empire that had built its legacy not only with conquest, but with engineering so profound that parts of it still operated millennia later. Rome, more than any other civilization, had fused imagination with infrastructure, transforming ideas into stone, water, metal, and movement. As the sun dipped into the sea, Elias felt his anticipation deepen. His arrival in Italy began in the city of Naples, where the ancient streets twisted in patterns shaped by centuries of human footsteps. But his true destination lay a few miles south, Pompeii, the city frozen in time. Before he traveled to Rome itself, Elias wanted to walk through a place where ancient engineering had been preserved with eerie perfection, sealed beneath the ashes of Vesuvius, like a message from the past waiting to be read. Pompeii's silence struck him first. Though tourists wandered its streets and guides carried umbrellas marked with flags, the city retained a haunting quietness, as if its walls remembered the last breaths of its inhabitants. Elias walked along the stone-paved roads, noticing the deep grooves where chariot wheels once carved their repetitive passage. He paused beside a row of houses whose aqueduct-fed fountains still displayed the remnants of stone basins. The plumbing systems of Pompeii fascinated him as much as its tragedies. These people had pipes, valves, pressure systems, ancient counterparts of modern infrastructure. Water once flowed in these channels precisely because Roman engineers understood gradients, pressure differentials, and material durability. He entered one of the bathhouses, where the floors were raised on tiny pillars to allow hot air to circulate and warm the rooms. Elias crouched to examine the hypocaust system, its bricks still perfectly spaced, its engineering logic still sound even after 2,000 years. This was no primitive culture experimenting with fire and stone. This was a civilization that had mastered climate control with intelligence that rivaled modern HVAC design. Standing in the dim light filtering through the doorway, Elias whispered to himself, "They engineered comfort. They engineered daily life." And yet it was the aqueducts, those colossal channels that brought fresh water across mountains and valleys, that stood as the symbol of Roman genius. Elias knew he would soon see them up close. Rome awaited. But Pompeii offered something equally important, a sense of intimacy. Rome was grand, imperial, architectural. Pompeii showed him how engineering touched everyday existence, how water, heat, and layout shaped ancient households. He could almost hear laughter from the past echoing through the courtyards. Later that afternoon, Elias sat on a broken column overlooking the Forum of Pompeii. He closed his eyes, letting the warm Italian breeze wash over him, carrying scents of wildflowers and distant sea. His mind drifted back to something his grandfather once told him. Rome engineered permanence, but permanence is only an illusion. What truly survives is ingenuity. Pompeii was proof that despite catastrophe, the design of the city endured. Its plumbing, its heating system, its road layout, its public spaces. Even buried, the engineering remained intact.
That evening, Elias boarded a train to Rome. Through the window, he watched the Italian countryside blur into fields, vineyards, and rolling hills that had seen centuries pass like shadows. Rome, when it finally revealed itself through the train station's archways, felt overwhelming. The city was a mixture of eras, layered atop one another. Modern cars zipping past ancient arches, neon lights glowing beneath weathered stone aqueducts, contemporary coffee shops perched beside ruins. But what Elias sought lay deeper, beneath the tourism and the noise. He wanted to stand face to face with the structural heartbeat of Rome, its aqueducts, its roads, its colosseums, its hidden engineering. His first destination the following morning was the Aqua Claudia, one of the most impressive aqueducts Rome ever built. As he stood beneath its towering arches stretching across the landscape, he felt dwarfed by the ambition that had constructed such grandeur. The aqueduct wasn't merely a water channel. It was the backbone of an empire, delivering millions of gallons of water daily, with precision reliant on mathematics, gravity, and endurance. Elias walked along the base of the colossal arches, his shoes kicking up dust that glittered in the sun. He studied the subtle slope of the aqueduct, a gradient so precise that the water moved continuously without stagnation, dropping only a few centimeters per kilometer. Achieving such accuracy without modern surveying tools spoke volumes about Roman ingenuity. Nearby, he noticed a section where the ancient stones had been cut open, revealing the internal channel lined with waterproof cement. Roman concrete fascinated scientists even today, with its volcanic ash composition
granting it extraordinary durability. Modern engineers struggled to replicate it exactly, and Elias found this mystery deeply compelling. How had the Romans discovered such formulations? Trial and error? Intuition? A scientific methodology lost to time? As he traced his fingers along the rough surface of the aqueduct, he imagined engineers from 2,000 years ago standing in this same field, discussing gradients, water pressure, and structural integrity. He imagined surveyors using the korobates, an ancient leveling device, to measure inclines with the precision that rivaled laser instruments. He imagined teams of workers hauling stone, shaping arches, and creating something that would outlast empires. From the aqueduct, Elias traveled to the Colosseum, the greatest amphitheater ever built. As he approached it, the massive stone ellipse seemed to emerge from the earth like a fossil of ambition. Even in its partially ruined state, the Colosseum proclaimed engineering mastery. Its arches, vaults, and travertine stones formed a skeletal wonder that held both brutality and beauty. Elias entered through one of the archways where cool air drifted through the corridors. He walked along the curved passages known as the vomitoria, not exits for vomiting as some assumed, but architectural innovations designed to allow 60,000 spectators to enter and exit the arena within minutes. These passages were calculated, efficient, purposeful.
Elias descended into the hypogeum, where sunlight filtered through cracks above, casting rays onto stone corridors. He traced his hand along the grooves cut into the walls, tracks where wooden beams once slid, providing support for lifting platforms. The Romans had engineered not only monuments, but experiences. They had combined physics with drama, architecture with emotion. The Colosseum wasn't just a building, it was a machine. As Elias walked deeper into the labyrinth, he imagined the rhythmic creaking of pulleys, the tension of ropes, the weight distribution shifting as platforms ascended. Ancient engineers would have calculated forces by instinct, using observations and passed-down knowledge instead of equations. This intuitive engineering intrigued Elias more than the monuments themselves. The human mind, capable of envisioning solutions long before formal theories existed, fascinated him. Leaving the Colosseum, Elias traveled to the Pantheon, perhaps the greatest testament to Roman engineering brilliance. Its dome, with a diameter of 43 meters, remained the largest unreinforced concrete dome in the world. Elias stood before its massive Corinthian columns, the granite shafts transported all the way from Egypt, an engineering feat in itself. As he stepped inside, the sight of the dome took his breath away. Sunlight streamed through the oculus at the apex, illuminating the coffered ceiling. Elias stared upward, marveling at how the Romans had calculated the distribution of weight, thinning the concrete mixture as the dome rose, creating lighter aggregate near the top. It was a perfect balance of density, geometry, and innovation. "You solved a problem that still challenges us," Elias whispered to the dome, as if speaking to the minds behind its creation. "You understood the mathematics of weight and strength without equations." The acoustics of the Pantheon made his voice echo gently, as if acknowledging its own engineering. Elias walked across the marble floor, feeling the coolness beneath his feet, the sense of sacred geometry surrounding him. He examined the walls, the niches, the structure of the rotunda. Everything about the building spoke of intention. That night, as he returned to his small hotel near Campo dei Fiori, Elias felt his mind racing. Rome had shown him engineering ambition on a scale unmatched in antiquity. But beneath the marvels lay a deeper truth. Civilizations engineered according to their needs and values. Rome engineered power and permanence. Greece engineered thought and proportion. Egypt engineered eternity and symbolism.
Engineering wisdom did not evolve linearly. It appeared in bursts, emerging in one region, declining, then reappearing elsewhere. Knowledge was fragile. A war could burn a library. An empire's collapse could bury entire systems of understanding. As he sat at the desk in his dimly lit room, Elias opened his journal again, writing, "Rome mastered the element of order. They built systems. They built networks, roads, aqueducts, communications, public services, and engineered civilization. And yet, even Rome fell, but their engineering did not." He paused, tapping the pen against the paper. What if engineering knowledge had been exchanged more widely? What if civilizations had shared discoveries instead of guarding them? How much more advanced might humanity be now? His thoughts drifted to the Silk Road, the ancient trade routes connecting east and west. Knowledge had traveled, but slowly, and often selectively. Empires guarded secrets, fearing their enemies might gain advantages. But Elias believed something else. He believed that despite cultural boundaries and political rivalries, ancient engineers from different civilizations shared a common intellectual DNA. They observed nature, measured patterns, predicted outcomes, tested materials, and solved problems through ingenuity. They thought like engineers, even without the language of engineering. The next morning, Elias boarded another flight, this time heading toward a land whose ancient cities predated Rome and Egypt's classical heights. A land where street layouts formed perfect grids, where drainage systems operated with modern sophistication, where complex water management and urban planning flourished thousands of years before many civilizations grasped such principles. He was flying toward the Indus Valley. As the plane ascended from Italy's soil, Elias watched the patchwork fields fade into clouds. Ahead lay a different kind of ancient engineering, urban, practical, and deeply human. His journey was leading him gradually across the world, as though he were stitching together a forgotten map of human genius. Rome had shown him the grandeur of engineered empire. Now he would explore a civilization that engineered cities with quiet brilliance. The Indus Valley awaited.
The clouds parted as the plane descended over the vast plains of Pakistan, revealing a landscape dotted with rivers, farmlands, and distant hills. Elias Morgan pressed his forehead gently against the window, watching the Indus River stretch like an ancient vein, feeding life into the earth. Somewhere along its banks lay the remains of cities that had thrived more than 4,000 years ago, cities whose engineering still mystified scholars. Mohenjo-Daro, Harappa, Dholavira. These ancient urban centers were not filled with pyramids or marble temples, but with something even more fascinating. Thoughtful, methodical planning that suggested a civilization deeply invested in order, sanitation, and daily well-being. As he stepped out into the warm air near Larkana, the modern town closest to Mohenjo-Daro, Elias felt the distinct hush of a place not yet consumed by tourist swarms. Unlike the pyramids or the Parthenon, the ruins here felt strangely quiet, almost shy. There were no towering structures to dominate the skyline. Instead, the beauty of Indus Valley engineering lay in the subtleties, the logic, the cleanliness, the balance between human life and nature. It was a different kind of genius, humble yet profound. A local archaeologist named Dr. Zaire met him at the visitor center. His eyes were sharp, his posture straight, and his voice carried a hint of pride as he spoke. "Most people come here expecting grand monuments," Zaire said as he led Elias toward the ruins, "but what they find is something far more sophisticated. These people were engineers of life, not architects of ego." As they walked along the ancient streets, Elias began seeing what Zaire meant. The city was laid out in precise grids, straight streets intersecting at right angles, forming neighborhoods organized with astonishing coherence. He crouched beside one of the main roads, running his fingers across the baked bricks. They felt smooth and uniform, each brick crafted according to standardized measurements. Standardization was a sign of high-level engineering control, something even Rome struggled with at times. "Look at the drainage," Zaire said, guiding him to one of the stone-lined channels running alongside the road. Covered with removable bricks, these drains connected to even larger underground sewers. Elias lifted one of the covering stones carefully and peered into the darkness below. The channel was wide enough for a man to crawl through, running the length of the street. Its incline was subtle but intentional, ensuring continuous flow. "This system would function even today," Elias whispered, astonished. "A city with sanitation thousands of years ahead of its time." Zaire nodded. "And not just sanitation. Airflow, water storage, waste control. They engineered for comfort and health. Most ancient civilizations engineered for rulers. These people engineered for everyone." That thought lingered with Elias as he explored deeper into the ruins. He entered what scholars referred to as the Great Bath, a massive watertight pool constructed with precision that rivaled modern pools. Its bricks were locked together with natural bitumen, creating a sealable chamber. Stairs descended on either side into the pool, and surrounding rooms suggested rituals or communal use. Elias walked along the edges, imagining the water shimmering under the sun, the echoes of voices, the interplay of community and technology. What fascinated him even more was the sense of uniformity across the city. Houses varied in size, but shared the same structural principles. Many had private wells, indoor bathrooms, and routes for wastewater disposal. This wasn't just engineering, it was social philosophy embedded in architecture, a belief that cities should serve all inhabitants equally. Elias found himself contemplating something deeper. How had such advanced urban planning disappeared for millennia after the Indus civilization declined? Why did later civilizations forget innovations so practical and vital? He scribbled a note in his journal. "Knowledge does not vanish. It gets buried, lost to floods, war, migration, or simply the erosion of memory." He turned to Zahir. "What happened to them?" Zahir sighed. "There are theories, climate shifts, river changes, droughts, but no definitive answer. Their script remains undeciphered, their language unknown. We know their engineering, but not their voice." That thought haunted Elias as he walked through the remains of granaries, workshops, and residential blocks. The Indus Valley people had been masters of measurement, brick ratios, and water management, but their written knowledge remained locked away, taunting modern scholars. Later in the afternoon, as the sun cast long shadows across the ruins, Elias climbed a small rise overlooking the city. From there, the layout revealed itself like a puzzle, streets forming consistent blocks, drainage lines connecting across neighborhoods, wells positioned according to geological logic. It was as if the entire city had been conjured from a blueprint drawn with mathematical precision. He closed his eyes, imagining what Mohenjo-Daro would have looked like at its peak. Street vendors selling pottery and grains, children playing by the well, women drawing water, engineers inspecting drainage channels, artisans crafting beads and figurines, a city alive with purpose and order. This civilization had not carved monuments to gods or kings.
It had carved a monument to intelligent living. That night, Elias stayed in a small guest house in the nearby village. The ceiling fan rotated lazily as he studied his notes and maps of the ancient city. He felt a growing sense of respect for the Indus engineers. They had built quietly, without boasting, without imposing giant temples on their people. Their genius manifested not in stone giants, but in everyday solutions. He wrote, "They built so people could live well. That is the purest form of engineering." The next morning, Elias traveled to Harappa, another Indus city located hundreds of kilometers away. The train journey gave him time to think. The rhythmic clattering of wheels over tracks mingled with the warm breeze streaming through the window. Elias watched fields pass by, green patches of wheat, brown stretches of earth, clusters of trees. Somewhere beneath these lands lay foundations of cities yet to be discovered.
Harappa felt different from Mohenjo-Daro. The air carried a cooler breeze, and the ruins stretched across gentle mounds rather than a unified layout. But the engineering echoes remained: grid patterns, brick standardization, water systems. This civilization had not been a single city, but a network of urban centers sharing common planning principles. He studied one of the excavated wells, its circular bricks forming a perfect cylinder. The precision stunned him. Even today, constructing such a flawless round shape required careful alignment and experienced hands. Yet here it was, over 4,000 years old, still standing. As he touched the ancient bricks, Elias felt a flicker of something in his mind, almost like a realization forming in the shadows of thought. Egypt engineered monuments for eternity. Greece engineered ideas. Rome engineered empires. The Indus Valley engineered cities. 4 different philosophies of engineering, each revealing a facet of human ingenuity. What then awaited him next? A civilization that engineered the cosmos itself. His next destination was thousands of kilometers away, across deserts, mountains, and impossible landscapes. Ancient Mesopotamia, where the first cities on Earth emerged, and where engineering and astronomy had intertwined to shape human destiny. But before leaving the subcontinent, Elias traveled to Dholavira, in India's Gujarat region. The ruins here differed from the others, built primarily with stone instead of brick. The city featured massive reservoirs, sophisticated water harvesting systems, and intricate flow channels. Standing atop one of the stone walls, Elias stared down at the vast water tanks dug into the ground. The realization hit him hard. This city had engineered resilience in one of the driest regions of the ancient world. Dholavira's people understood the rhythm of rainfall, the movement of water, and the importance of conservation. Their survival depended on engineering. As he walked through the vast reservoirs, he ran his hands along the stone edges, imagining the water shimmering beneath a scorching sun, the people collecting rainwater, the engineers measuring intake and storage levels. It was here that the full picture came into view. The Indus Valley civilization engineered around water. Water shaped their cities, their measurements, their lifestyles. Their engineering was ecological, sustainable, and sensitive to the environment. That night, sitting under a sky filled with stars, Elias felt that he was seeing the world as ancient engineers must have seen it, not as isolated marvels, but as interconnected systems shaped by nature, necessity, and human imagination. He whispered into the warm air, "Engineering is the story of humanity trying to live better."
The next morning, as he prepared to leave for Iraq, Elias found himself reflecting on the journey so far. Egypt's stone giants, Greece's mathematical precision, Rome's infrastructural empire, the Indus Valley's urban genius. Each civilization contributed a different piece of humanity's engineering identity. And now he was heading toward the cradle of civilization, the land of ziggurats, canals, and ancient observatories. Mesopotamia awaited him with stories carved not only in brick and clay, but in the very stars. The plane lifted off, the Indian subcontinent shrinking below him. As he gazed out at the horizon, Elias felt the weight of history pulling him forward. His journey was no longer just an exploration. It was a quest to understand the very foundation of human brilliance.
The desert wind that swept across the stone ruins of ancient Palmyra carried with it a faint whisper of distant hooves, as if echoing the endless caravans that once passed through its storied archways. Miriam stood between the fallen columns, her notebook trembling in her hand. For days she had been following the evolutionary path of ancient engineering. The foundations of Egypt, the lifted stones of Greece, the overwhelming geometry of Rome. But there was a different kind of engineering that had built the ancient world, one even more invisible than temples or tunnels. It was the engineering of connection, the vast spiderweb of roads and bridges and arteries that allowed cultures to communicate, trade to flourish, armies to advance, and ideas to travel. The story of ancient engineering was incomplete without the networks that bound civilizations into coherent entities. Great monuments taught humanity how to build. Great roads taught humanity how to belong. And as Miriam took her first step along what remained of the once vibrant trade routes, she realized that history's greatest masterpieces were not merely structures, they were movements, journeys, lifelines. Her guide for this leg of her expedition was a Syrian archaeologist named Farid, whose eyes carried the sorrow of a homeland fractured and the pride of a legacy that had once unified continents. He led her through the desert, explaining that Palmyra's engineering brilliance was not only found in temples, but also in the logistical triumph that made it the beating heart of the Silk Road. The city's engineers had mastered water distribution, caravan management, and road stabilization in one of the harshest environments on Earth. Yet Palmyra was only one chapter. Farid told her that if she wanted to understand the true scale of ancient networks, she must travel through the mountain passes of Persia, the stone-paved highways of Rome, the hanging bridges of the Andes, and the sun-scorched trade routes of Arabia. Each of these landscapes had birthed engineering marvels that transcended geography and politics. Each network had tied civilizations together long before the concept of a global world existed. Their next stop was Persia. Miriam had always known about the Royal Road from textbooks, but stepping onto the reconstructed segments northeast of Shiraz was like stepping into a living artery. The road extended toward the horizon in precise alignment, its crushed gravel surface still remarkably even after millennia. Persian engineers had invented a system of communication and transport so advanced that messages could travel across the empire faster than in most nations of the 18th century. Farid explained that Darius the Great had designed the Royal Road not merely for transport, but for unity. Along the entire length of the 2,700-kilometer route, the Persians had constructed way stations called Chapar Khaneh. These stations housed fresh horses, guards, rest facilities, food and water storage, emergency craftsmen and scribes who could copy or verify imperial messages. The messenger riders, called chapars, could cover the entire length of the road in mere days, passing through mountains, deserts, forests, and plains with relentless consistency. The road stitched together dozens of cultures and territories, providing an administrative stability that allowed the Achaemenid Empire to flourish across 3 continents.
As they walked, Miriam noticed grooves in certain areas where stone wheels had cut faint tracks. She ran her fingers over them and felt the depth that centuries of carts had carved. Farid smiled and explained how Persian engineers had pioneered anti-erosion slope grading and drainage canals that prevented flash floods from destroying the route. Their roads were built slightly convex so that water rolled off either side rather than pooling. Even the gravel composition was intentional, a blend of crushed limestone and volcanic ash that resisted compaction and was less likely to turn to mud in rain. It wasn't just a road, Farid said, as the sunlight shimmered across the horizon. It was the backbone of the empire. Miriam wrote the words carefully. She could feel them forming the thesis of something greater. Their flight from Iran took them to Italy, where Rome had carved the world's first global network. In the early morning light, they drove to the Appian Way, the queen of roads. Standing upon the basalt stones, Miriam could feel the intent behind every brick. The Roman roads were not just built, they were engineered with layered precision. A foundation of deep stones, a middle layer of gravel mixed with clay or lime, and a top surface of polygonal basalt blocks fitted so tightly that grass could not grow through the seams. As Miriam walked, the slight curve of each road segment became apparent. The Romans, like the Persians, valued drainage, but the Romans perfected it. Their roads curved upward at the center, the camber, allowing rain to wash down into roadside ditches. Even more remarkable were the milestones placed exactly 1 Roman mile apart, inscribed with the name of the emperor who commissioned them. These markers standardized measurements throughout the empire, ensuring that soldiers, merchants, engineers, and civilians shared the same understanding of distance. Miriam watched as modern tourists passed by, oblivious to the fact that they walked on the functional ancestor of nearly every modern highway. The Romans had built more than 400,000 kilometers of roads, with 80,000 paved in stone. These roads stitched together cultures from Britain to Egypt, from Spain to Syria. Through them marched armies, diplomats, traders, and stories. But the marvel that grabbed her soul was the bridges. Farid took her next to the Pont du Gard in France, its 3 tiers rising like a golden rib cage against the sky. Miriam stood beneath its arches, overwhelmed by their grace. Roman engineers had built it not only as a bridge, but also as an aqueduct, carrying water 50 kilometers across valleys and plains to the city of Nîmes. The precision was so exquisite that the entire gradient dropped only a few centimeters per kilometer, an almost supernatural feat in an age without lasers or modern surveying tools. Farid explained that the Romans used a method called opus quadratum, laying stones without mortar. The weight of the blocks compressed the joints so perfectly that the structure remained watertight and stable for 2,000 years. Miriam imagined the workers carving each limestone block, hoisting them with cranes powered by human treadmills, aligning each arch so that the forces distributed evenly downward. Every detail reflected an understanding of physics that modern students often underestimated. From France, they traveled across the Atlantic to Peru.
The Inca Empire had engineered a network of roads through the Andes so vast and complex that even Rome's road seemed modest by comparison. Yet the Incas built without wheels, iron tools, or written language. Their engineers had achieved miracles through stone alone. In the high Andes, Miriam stood before one of the Inca rope bridges suspended across a canyon. The bridge swayed gently in the wind, woven from grass fibers, braided and replaced annually through rituals involving hundreds of villagers. Farid urged her to step on it. Fear gripped her at first, but she eventually placed her weight upon the woven surface. It felt alive, like a living creature breathing beneath her feet. Farid explained that these bridges were part of the Capac Non, a road system stretching over 40,000 kilometers through mountains, jungles, deserts, and ravines. Inca engineers had carved stairways directly into mountain faces, built retaining walls to prevent landslides, and used ingenious switchback systems that allowed llamas and humans to climb nearly vertical terrain. Unlike Roman roads, which prioritized the shortest route, Inca roads prioritized safety and environmental harmony. They followed the natural contours of the mountains, respecting the landscape rather than dominating it. Miriam found herself deeply moved by the fact that the Inca road system was sustained by communities, not empires. Each year, entire villages gathered to replace the bridges, reinforcing the idea that engineering was not just construction, it was culture, identity, and unity. From France, they flew to Jordan, where Petra waited like a reddish-pink jewel carved into stone. The entrance to Petra, the Siq, was not simply a dramatic canyon, but a masterfully engineered pathway. Nabatean engineers had chiseled channels along the walls of the Siq to manage flash floods, carved sediment filters into the rock, and constructed clay pipes that delivered water from distant springs. Miriam walked the length of the Siq in awe, touching the carved aqueducts with reverence. Water had once flowed through these channels into the heart of Petra, turning a desert settlement into a thriving metropolis. Farid reminded her that roads were not always horizontal. Some were vertical, carved into cliffs or hidden underground. The Nabateans had engineered secret staircases, switchbacks, and tunnels that allowed them to protect their city and manage their resources with unparalleled sophistication. Their journey continued to China, where the ancient builders of the Qin and Han dynasties had engineered the first unified road system across East Asia. Miriam gazed upon remnants of rammed earth highways that had once connected imperial capitals. Chinese engineers had pioneered materials like tamped earth, gravel, and wooden piles, ensuring stability against earthquakes and soil erosion. Even more impressive were the stone-paved roads that followed river valleys and mountain ridges, allowing massive armies to traverse long distances with surprising speed. But China's greatest ancient network was the Grand Canal. Farid took her to Hangzhou, where the water shimmered beneath willow trees. Though much of the canal had been expanded and rebuilt in later centuries, its origins lay deep in antiquity. Chinese engineers had created a freshwater transportation artery that allowed grain, silk, soldiers, and culture to flow throughout the empire. The canal connected northern and southern China for more than 2,000 kilometers, involving lock systems, levees, and water basins that displayed a mastery of hydraulic engineering unparalleled anywhere else in the world. Miriam realized that networks, more than monuments, were what allowed civilizations to thrive. Roads connected ideas. Bridges connected people. Aqueducts connected cities. Water canals connected economies. Every structure she had seen shared a common thread. Engineering, at its heart, was about relationships. Humanity survived
because it built pathways.
The ancient world was filled with silent giants, devices that once roared with motion, machines whose gears and pulleys carved rivers, powered ships, lifted stones, and performed tasks that seemed nearly supernatural. Miriam had seen the monumental structures, the vast networks, the aqueducts and roads. But now she stepped into a different realm of engineering, one defined not by immovable stone, but by motion, precision, and invention. The world of ancient machinery was a world where imagination had been welded into wood, bronze, rope, and stone, producing mechanisms that altered the course of history. She began this chapter of her journey in Alexandria, the birthplace of ancient innovation. The warm Mediterranean breeze carried the scent of salt water as she walked toward the ruins of the legendary Library of Alexandria. Though the original library was long gone, the modern Bibliotheca Alexandria stood as a shimmering tribute to the ancient thirst for knowledge. Within its exhibition halls, Farid led her to replicas of devices once imagined and constructed by Alexandria's greatest minds. "Here," he said, gesturing toward a bronze sphere mounted on a pedestal, "is where ancient engineering truly becomes magic." The sphere was a reconstruction of Heron's Aeolipile, often considered the world's first steam engine. Miriam leaned closer. The device was simple enough, a hollow sphere mounted on a stand with two bent tubes on opposite sides. When heated, steam escaped through the tubes, causing the sphere to spin. It was a toy in its time, an experiment Heron performed to demonstrate the physical properties of steam. But to Miriam, it was a glimpse into a different future that almost was. She imagined the Aeolipile scaled into a larger mechanism, perhaps powering gears or lifting devices. Had ancient civilizations understood its potential, the Industrial Revolution might have started 2,000 years earlier. But the ancient world was not about industrialization. It was about ingenuity applied to immediate needs. Heron had invented dozens of devices, automated temple doors that opened by fire-driven hydraulic pressure, coin-operated holy water dispensers, mechanical theaters with puppets that moved using ropes and counterweights. Each device demonstrated how deeply ancient engineers understood pressure, heat, motion, and balance. As Miriam studied a model of Heron's automatic theater, she felt a chill of wonder. The stage moved, ships floated across miniature seas, doors opened, gods descended, all driven by a single rope wound around a rotating cylinder. The rope unwound at a controlled speed due to a carefully calibrated weight. It was a symphony of engineering and storytelling, a kind of ancient robotic performance.
From Alexandria, she traveled to Sicily to study Archimedes. His birthplace of Syracuse overlooked a glittering sea, and Miriam walked among the ruins of the old city, imagining Roman ships approaching during the siege. Archimedes, the greatest mathematical mind of antiquity, had built war machines that defied belief. Compound pulleys that allowed a single man to lift enormous weights, catapults calibrated with mathematical precision, and the legendary claw of Archimedes, a crane-like device capable of lifting enemy ships out of the water. Farid guided her to the harbor where Archimedes had once tested his inventions. He understood leverage like no one before him, Farid said, gathering sand to draw diagrams. Miriam watched the lines form, the lever arm, the fulcrum, the point of applied force. When Archimedes said, "Give me a place to stand and I will move the earth," it was not arrogance, it was physics. Yet Archimedes' most mysterious invention was the burning mirrors, said to have set Roman ships aflame by focusing sunlight. Historians debated its authenticity, but Miriam felt that even the plausibility of such a device spoke volumes about ancient ambition.
More concrete was the Archimedes screw, which she saw demonstrated on a restored section near the shoreline. The screw lifted water upward with elegant simplicity, a spiral blade inside a hollow cylinder, manually rotated to push water uphill. This device had irrigated fields, drained mines, and transformed water management across continents. Their next destination was a place Miriam had dreamed of since childhood, the island of Antikythera. Off its coast, divers had once recovered the world's first known analog computer from a shipwreck. At the National Archaeological Museum in Athens, Miriam stood before the Antikythera mechanism, its encrusted gears frozen in time. 1,000 questions stormed her mind as she stared at the bronze fragments. How had ancient engineers created a device so sophisticated that it could predict eclipses, track planetary cycles, and model the precise positions of celestial bodies? Beside her stood a functioning replica. Its gears turned smoothly, each tooth carved with deliberate precision. When Farid rotated the main crank, dials spun and tiny pointers moved to display lunar phases, solar positions, and even the timing of ancient athletic festivals. Miriam felt as if she had stumbled upon a secret window into ancient intelligence. The mechanism contained more than 30 bronze gears, some barely the size of a fingernail, crafted with tolerances finer than many medieval clocks. She understood then that the ancients were not guessing at the heavens, they were computing them. Leaving the Mediterranean, Miriam and Farid traveled along the Nile toward Luxor, where ancient Egyptian engineers had built mechanical devices for construction, agriculture, and flood management. These included nilometers, stone wells with carved measurement lines that allowed priests to forecast crop yields based on flood heights. They saw shadufs swinging over the river, long wooden poles with counterweights designed to lift water from lower basins to canals. The simplicity of the shaduf hid a brilliance in ergonomics. Anyone, even a child, could lift heavy volumes of water using the counterbalanced arm.
In the fields, they observed sakya wheels, turned by oxen walking in circles. These wheels lifted water using a chain of clay pots, allowing irrigation on a massive scale. The rhythmic motion of the sakya was hypnotic, like the ticking of an ancient clock, measuring out life along the Nile. But the ancient machines were not all gentle or agricultural. Some belonged to war. Their path led them next to the Near East, to the homeland of the Assyrians. In museums, they saw bas-reliefs depicting siege towers rolling toward fortified walls, battering rams mounted on wheeled platforms, and portable bridges extended by ropes and pulleys. Engineers had designed these machines with brutal efficiency. Wooden towers plated with wet hides to resist fire, wheels braced with bronze fittings, and internal winches allowing soldiers to ascend protected ramps. War drove innovation, Farid said quietly, but it also spread knowledge. It was a sobering truth Miriam carried with her as they journeyed across Asia to China, where ancient engineering reached new heights in the realm of mechanical devices. In a serene courtyard in Suzhou, they examined intricate water clocks built during the Han and Song dynasties. Gears, escapements, and water-driven wheels regulated time with stunning precision. The ancient engineer Su Song had constructed a tower clock featuring a celestial globe and armillary sphere, all driven by flowing water. This was centuries before Europe developed clockworks of similar complexity. In another exhibit, they studied the south-pointing chariot, a cart whose wooden gears maintained the direction of a figurine pointing south no matter how the cart turned. It was an early form of differential gear, a mechanical concept that would not reappear in Europe until the Renaissance. Miriam traced the interlocking gear teeth with her finger, marveling that such abstract mechanical reasoning had been manifested in wood and bronze long before calculus or modern physics existed. In India, they examined temple machinery that manipulated water and sound. At Hampi, Miriam listened as raindrops played different tones when falling on stone slabs cut with acoustic precision. In Konark, she studied the Sun Temple's carved wheels, which functioned as sundials, marking time down to minutes. Indian engineers had also developed complex irrigation systems like the Persian wheel, adopted and adapted across the subcontinent, and ingenious sugarcane presses using compound levers. From India, they traveled to the Arabian Peninsula. Here, the legacy of Al-Jazari awaited them. In a private archive in Istanbul, Miriam was granted access to reproductions of his automata, machines powered by water flow, gears, cams, and timing mechanisms. Among them was his famous elephant clock, a multicultural masterpiece combining Greek statuary, Indian numerals, Arab engineering, and Chinese dragons. The clock didn't merely tell time, it celebrated the connectedness of civilizations. Yet even more impressive were his devices: water-raising machines powered by crankshafts, rotating gears that converted circular motion into linear motion, and early prototypes of segmental gears. Al-Jazari's work was a bridge between ancient and medieval engineering, and Farid explained that his treatise influenced engineers for centuries.
Miriam felt the weight of centuries converging into these machines. They were the ancestors of engines, tools, clocks, and computers. But the journey was not complete. They traveled to the Americas, where indigenous civilizations had developed remarkable mechanical solutions suited to their environments. In the Andes, she observed stone channels that produced hydraulic pounding using water pressure alone. In Mesoamerica, Mayan engineers had created complex calendars and astronomical devices that rivaled the predictive power of Greek mechanisms. Though they did not use gears, their conceptual understanding of cycles and celestial mechanics was profound. What fascinated Miriam most was the ball game court built with perfect acoustic engineering. A whisper from one end could be heard at the other, demonstrating precise control of sound waves. Near the ruins, Farid explained how the Maya had designed resonating chambers within pyramids to amplify ritual chants. These were machines made of stone, mechanisms built not to move, but to make the world move around them. As their journey drew toward the horizon of the 5th chapter, Miriam realized that ancient machines were not merely tools. They were expressions of curiosity. Every pulley, gear, wheel, screw, siphon, and automaton represented a mind refusing to accept the limitations of the world. The ancients had no electricity, yet they moved mountains. They had no engines, yet they powered empires. They had no factories, yet they forged bronze gears fine enough to model the heavens.
The morning light spread slowly across the ruins of Byblos, turning the ancient stones a gentle shade of gold. Miriam sat on a weathered column, her notebook open on her lap, though she was no longer writing. She was reflecting. Behind her lay a world she had walked through piece by piece, monument by monument, invention by invention. Ahead of her stretched the modern world, loud, complex, tangled in wires and machines. But between these two worlds, she now realized there was no divide, only a bridge built by the ancients. Farid approached quietly, holding 2 small cups of thick Arabic coffee. He did not speak immediately. He sensed she was lost in a silence that had depth, a silence carved out of awe, humility, and rediscovery. When he finally did sit beside her, Miriam exhaled slowly. "It's strange," she said, looking at the city stretching toward the sea. "We live with satellites and skyscrapers and quantum computers, but the foundations, they were already here." Farid nodded. "We think we are modern, but in truth, we are ancient, just a continuation of their story." Their final chapter had brought them to the birthplace of alphabetic writing, but Miriam realized the location was symbolic for another reason. Every engineering marvel she had studied, from pyramids, roads, tunnels, aqueducts, machines, bridges, and astronomical computers, was a form of communication, a message passed through time, a language etched in stone, wood, bronze, and earth. She closed her notebook gently. "Tell me," she asked Farid, "when did you start believing antiquity still lives inside the present?" He smiled. "I didn't start. I've never stopped." They walked through Byblos's layers of civilization, Phoenician harbors, Roman streets, Crusader fortresses, each built atop the last, each inheriting and transforming what came before. It was a living illustration of what Miriam was beginning to understand. Engineering was never just physical, it was philosophical. It was the way humanity spoke to its future selves. From Byblos, they traveled to Istanbul, where East met West, past met present, and ancient met modern more intimately than anywhere else on earth. Standing in front of the Hagia Sophia, Miriam saw more clearly than ever how ancient engineering had transcended its era. The massive dome above her seemed to float, defying gravity, though held up by principles devised long before Brunelleschi or Newton. Byzantine engineers had invented pendentives, curved triangular supports that allowed round domes to sit atop square bases, setting the foundation for centuries of architectural innovation. Inside, Miriam gazed upward, imagining the engineers drawing lines in dust, calculating load distribution with nothing but intuition and experience. The dome had survived earthquakes, invasions, political upheavals, and the passage of 15 centuries. It breathed with history. But it was not just the great structures that shaped the modern world. It was also the overlooked inventions, the ones woven so deeply into daily life that their origins had been forgotten.
On a train bound for Vienna, Farid showed Miriam diagrams of early plumbing traps used in ancient Egypt, precursors to the U-bends in modern bathrooms. In the streets of Rome, she recognized the ancestor of modern concrete in the weathered walls of the Colosseum. The ash-lime pozzolana mixture the Romans had perfected was more durable than many contemporary mixes, and researchers were now studying Roman mortar for hints that might help modern seawalls resist deterioration. In the shadow of the ancient Egyptian obelisks relocated to European cities, Miriam traced her fingers along the grooves carved by workers 5,000 years ago. Those obelisks were not only monuments, they were solar calculators, casting shadows to track time and seasons. Today's solar farms followed similar celestial logic. As their plane descended over London, Miriam stared at the web of highways glowing beneath them. "Roman roads," she murmured, surprising herself. The pattern echoed the old imperial maps. The Roman system of milestones and standardized measurements had become the basis for modern surveying. The idea that roads should be built in layers for stability, that drainage must be carefully controlled, that networks must follow logical hierarchies, all these principles lived on. Farid smiled as he caught the direction of her gaze. "Once you see the ancient world," he said,
you start seeing it everywhere. He was right. In London, they visited the British Museum to study ancient dams from the Middle East, precursors to modern hydropower systems. In its Mesopotamian galleries, Mariam saw clay models of water wheels, early symbols of rotary motion. She examined Babylonian foundation tablets that detailed the mathematics behind temple construction, mathematics still taught in modern engineering courses. But the moment that stayed with her the longest happened unexpectedly, in a quiet corner of the museum. There, displayed almost modestly, was a humble wooden pulley from ancient Egypt. The sign beneath it explained how this simple device, amplified through compound systems, had helped lift blocks weighing tons. Mariam stared at it for minutes, realizing that much of global infrastructure, cranes, elevators, maritime rigging, could trace its lineage to that wooden wheel. In a world defined by speed, by digital complexity, by invisible algorithms, she found solace in the clarity of ancient mechanics. Everything had roots. Their final journey took them to Japan, not because Japan was part of the earliest civilizations Mariam had studied, but because its engineering philosophy offered closure to her exploration. In Nara, they visited the Taodaiji Temple, a wooden structure so immense that many modern engineers still struggle to fully understand how it supports its own weight. The temple's bracket complex, called Tokyo, allowed beams to distribute pressure without nails, a concept that echoed through ancient Chinese, Korean, and Southeast Asian architecture as well.
Here Miriam realized something profound. While technology evolved, the human hand never lost its essence. Whether carving stone in Giza, forging bronze gears in Greece, or shaping timber in Japan, every engineer across time had shared one belief: that the world could be transformed through thought and craftsmanship. As they walked among the towering wooden pillars, Farid finally asked, "Miriam, after everything we've seen, what do you think the ancients wanted us to learn?" She considered the question deeply. That greatness isn't measured by how fast we advance, but by how deeply we understand what we build. They didn't just create structures, they created meaning. They built with care because they knew their work might outlive them. Farid nodded, and it has. Their final evening together unfolded in Kyoto, where cherry blossoms drifted along the river like soft pink memories. They sat beneath lanterns that reflected centuries of craftsmanship: paper, bamboo, fire, structure. Everything around them was a quiet echo of historical evolution. Miriam opened her notebook one last time, not to write, but to read. She scanned her notes: the aqueducts that tamed rivers, the roads that bound empires, the machines that defied imagination, the monuments that challenged time, the networks that carried ideas, the mathematics that guided builders. She realized each chapter of her journey was not separate, but interconnected, just like the engineering feats themselves. Farid raised a small glass of tea. "To the ancients," he toasted softly. Miriam lifted hers. "To the future they made possible." A gentle breeze stirred, lifting cherry blossoms into the air. The world felt both ancient and new in that moment, as if time itself bowed respectfully to the civilizations that shaped it. Miriam stood, looking toward the lit cityscape. Neon signs blinked overhead, but she no longer saw them as symbols of modernity alone. They were, in a way, descendants of ancient flames, torches that guided humanity through darkness. The skyscrapers were children of the pyramids. The bridges were heirs of Roman arches. The highways traced invisible paths
first charted by forgotten cartographers. The satellites mirrored the celestial computations of Babylonian astronomers. We didn't invent modern engineering. We inherited it. Farid placed a hand on her shoulder. "And now," he said, "it is your turn to pass the torch." As the night deepened and the cherry blossoms settled, Miriam felt a peace she had never known. Her journey had shown her that the ancient world was not lost. It was alive, pulsing through every beam, every bolt, every path humanity walked today. The ancients were still with them. In every bridge that arched, in every machine that turned, in every stone that stayed standing against time, they spoke. And if one listened closely enough, the message was clear. We built for you. Now build for those who will come after you.
And with those words echoing silently within her heart, Mariam closed her notebook for the final time, knowing the story would never truly end.
Thank you.